Welcome to Exes Forever. This show is not about love because we have no clue what love is. What we do know is love creates exes. Ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends, ex-husbands, ex-wives, etc. Love is the Professor X of generations of X-men and X-women. And this show is about them. My name is Ed Hill.
My name is Jeff Penner.
Game on.
Today we have Jason with us. He is the manager of the Comedy Mix here in Vancouver. Hello, Jason.
Hey, boys. How you guys doing?
Great. Thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate it. Jason's got a story to tell about one of his exes, and her name, kind of explain her name.
Well, her name is Mildred. She's Filipina, but she went by Maji, a nickname, because I don't think anyone is called Mildred anymore.
Yeah, maybe it's coming back.
I'm trying not to make this racial, by the way.
Oh my God, it's 5 seconds, Ed. We've been on for 5 seconds.
She's the only Mildred I've ever met. So
Maji, okay.
Or heard of. So.
Okay, we'll call her Maji, that's good. I guess how long ago was this relationship?
This was probably about 10 years ago or so, I think, 2003. I was 31, 32 at the time.
Okay.
My job at the time, I was the general manager of the Vancouver Canadians baseball team.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was a pretty neat job, and similar to my job now at the Mix, my hours were just sort of crazy and all over the place, and I was finding it difficult to try and meet people. And so I showed up at a buddy's wedding, and just sort of on a dare from some of my buddies who had either wives or girlfriends, they said, why don't you go over and sit at the single girls table? So I did, and what I did actually to meet up with Maji was I started hitting on her friend with the intention of me actually going out with her. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like a bait and switch sort of situation. I figured I might sort of be slightly D-baggy and make it look like I'm not interested in her when she was actually the affection, or sort of the attention of my affection for that night.
How did she take it?
She was a little pissed. I gotta be honest. Okay. She was pissed I was paying more attention to her friend than her.
But that was kind of your game all along, wasn't it?
It was the long game for sure. Yeah, like it, and so it worked out. It was at Bonser Avenue, a place attached to the Fireman's Hall, attached to Metrotown, I think.
Okay.
So we were there for the reception, and so I went and I was talking with her friend, and for the life of me, I couldn't tell you what her friend's name was. And then when it came time to do the dancing, which again, as a white guy, I'm not very good at, I did walk up to her and I asked Maji if she wanted to dance. And so then we went up and danced for a little while, and I ended up spending sort of the rest of the night hanging out at her table. And we made arrangements to go on a date, oddly on a Monday night, I think the following Monday. And so this was probably a Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Yeah, I think so. And so it was September 9th. I only remember that because it turned out, and I didn't know this at the time, to be her birthday.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, so I figured, well, a girl
I thought you were going for a 9/11 thing there.
Yeah, it was the 2-year anniversary, and she was a terrorist, but...
Well, good.
Good job, Jeff.
Full circle.
Now we have to report this.
No, actually what ended up happening is I was thinking, wow, if this girl's agreeing to go out with me on her birthday, then she's either A, desperate, or kind of likes me. And so I think it was somewhere in between those two.
So did you know it was her birthday beforehand or no?
No, not until that night while we were actually out on the date. We went to Havana Restaurant on Commercial Drive.
Okay.
And so we're out for dinner, and she's like, oh, by the way, it's my birthday. I was like, wow. I can't believe that you agreed to go out on a first date on your birthday. And so it was just a pretty fun night all around. So
did you do something afterwards to make it up that it was her birthday? Did you get her a gift? Or?
Well, I did. For our second date, I bought her a birthday gift. But on that night, what we did is we ended up going for, I think, gelato at La Casa on Venables in Clark-ish area. Mm-hmm. And then just afterwards went for, like, I think, a glass of wine back at my place, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long? This was on a Monday. Your second date was that week, or
yeah, I think that weekend we ended up chatting a lot on the phone and stuff like that, and so the relationship actually progressed relatively quickly.
This was a decade ago.
Yeah,
was text we've had a lot of conversations.
It was pre-text.
Pre-text. Okay.
Yeah, it was pre-text.
So a lot of phone and meeting up in person and stuff. Yeah,
smoke signals and postcards.
Good times.
Mostly.
Good times.
Gather together and listen to Jesus preach.
Yeah.
So you guys went on a few dates, and then how long did you guys date before you were boyfriend girlfriend?
I think it was probably within I want to say like 3 weeks. So like it was pretty quick. One of the things that was going on in my life is I was wrapping up my tenure with the Canadians and had given my notice to leave that job, and actually had a couple job opportunities down in the States. I was shortlisted for the Montgomery Seabiscuits, a well-known AA team, and the Hagerstown Suns. So one was in Montgomery, Alabama, and the other one was in Hagerstown, Maryland. And so in order to pursue sort of the ambitions of my career choice at that time, which was management and sports, I was looking at pursuing one of those two opportunities. So what I did is I put my house on the market. I was getting ready to leave the city, and
while you're building this new relationship?
Exactly, yeah. So it was just really weird. It was like one of those things where 3 or 4 things in my life were converging at the same time, which oddly enough mirrored my hiring with the Comedy Mix about a year ago. So 3 or 4 things were sort of coming to a head when I got hired at the Comedy Mix, and same situation when I was leaving the Canadians back in, I guess, September, October of 2003. And so what I ended up doing was selling the house. And it was when the market was just starting to boom a little bit again. And I was 30, just had turned 32, had $100,000 in the house and a new girlfriend, or sorry, $100,000 in the bank after selling my house, and a new girlfriend. And so the hiring cycles in baseball are September, December, February. So I really love the city of Vancouver. I moved out in '95 from Edmonton. Just loved the city, great circle of friends. This new relationship, money in the bank, no real need to pursue a job for a little while anyways. Had a bit of a nest egg to sit on. And so I decided, okay, I'll wait until the December hiring cycle for baseball. Turned down the 2 opportunities that were afforded to me. And by that time, I'd been going out with Maji for about 3-4 months and decided that I was going to take a break to work on personal relationship rather than career ambitions. So I ended up dedicating more of my time to hanging out with her. And
did she know about all this?
I discussed it with her that I had some opportunities in the States. She obviously knew I sold a house because I wasn't living there anymore. And I got an apartment on Arbutus and 8th and was kind of getting used to the Kitsilano lifestyle after living in East Van for 5 years. And so I discussed with her that, I think things are getting kind of serious with us, so I want to try and pursue this. And so by the time that December rolled around, I decided not to pursue a career and stayed in Vancouver. And when February came around for the last sort of hiring cycle for baseball for that year, I passed on it again and just sort of decided to dedicate, maybe this might be the relationship for me.
Okay. So all these decisions were being made based on your relationship with Maji?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that's a big deal.
It was a really big deal. I mean, I had like a number of fairly short-term relationships throughout my 20s, and then sort of the normal stuff that you would have in high school and university, that kind of thing. But this was the first one where there seemed like there could be an end game, like it seemed like
the one.
Yeah, well, not necessarily the one, but a lot of the markers were there that this could either be a long-term relationship or it could turn into some sort of, longer thing. But then, like any relationship, then there's like red flags that go off all the time. So there was.
So what were the red flags that you saw?
Well, on the first date, Maji told me a lot about traveling quite a bit, and she didn't seem like she came from like a very well-off family. So I was wondering why she was in, Houston one week and then Miami another week. Just sort of through the course of the conversations we had, she was talking a lot about.
So she was traveling.
She was traveling quite a bit, and but she wasn't at the time that we met, and so it occurred to me that a lot of the stories that she was talking about happened in the same sort of time frame, but then she was in a lot of different cities as she was relating to this.
So was she a terrorist?
Yeah. So yeah, we were.
I was starting to think that was the right
theory. It was a pretty good call. She terrorized my brain piece after a little while, but so I called her on it, sort of in a playful way. I'm like, "Wow, you traveled a lot for your job. Like, were you a stripper or something?" She said, "Yeah."
Oh.
I was.
Oh, okay.
So that was her.
So she was on tour.
That was her former profession.
Okay.
At the time,
this is a conversation that took place on the first date?
The first date.
Okay.
Which was her birthday.
Right.
And we had met 2 days earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that is a big flag.
Yeah, a lot of information came pretty quickly to a head. So
just a job.
Just a job. Yeah. strippers gotta eat,
Exactly.
right? And so,
Don't make it a personal job.
so she wasn't. That wasn't her job at the time we met. She was working in HR for some sort of like consulting firm or insurance company or something like that.
Okay.
So she had a day job. But that was one of the flags. I mean, people who are drawn to that type of vocation tend to fall within a certain personality range.
Yeah.
You know, so that was a little bit of a flag, but she wasn't involved in that anymore, and we sort of talked about,
Mhm.
you know, like whatever, that kind of cool, and as long as it doesn't affect what our relationship could be, I didn't think it was too bad at the time.
So did you work as a stripper in Vancouver, or she kind of quit everything and came to Vancouver?
She was working in Vancouver and then sort of got hired by some sort of agency and then was
And then got
moving
out of it.
around.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so that was how she got to travel quite a bit.
Okay.
And then one of the, like, two other really weird red flags for me were she had this little, well, fat chihuahua. And
That's a red flag right there.
yeah, it was.
Are you saying that because I have two chihuahuas?
Do you actually have chihuahuas?
I have two chihuahuas.
Oh my God.
One's very fat.
What color is it?
It's black and brown. One's black, one's brown.
And did you adopt it or?
No. They were
Okay, so you've had it since puppy.
Yeah.
So it's not the same dog.
No.
Okay. That would have been really weird.
It'd be a really old
No,
dog,
yeah.
too.
Yeah, like
I was in Houston a decade ago.
well, so she
And the
that-
stripper came up to me
Yeah.
and was like, I
And
can't
gave me a
have this
dog.
dog anymore.
So, anyways, one of the things that I noticed about her personality type was that she kept mentioning a lot of things about being very maternal, but at the drop of a hat would leave her dog with someone else to take care of or something. So, I mean, as Ed was alluding to earlier, I was starting to think, like, is this someone who could be long-term for me? And I'm like, wow, man, if she's treating her dogs like a dog like that, what's she going to do if, you know, we have children someday? She's like, and she can't handle a dog being sick, how's she going to handle a kid being sick?
Mm.
And then about a month after that, I got really sick, and I'm like any dude, I'm like really bitchy and whiny and moany, and I don't know what to do with myself when I'm sick. And she came over one day, and I'm like, it's just best if you leave me alone. Which is really just a cry for help. For please
Don't
please
leave
take
me
care of
alone.
me. Yeah, can you make some chicken noodle soup and buy me some gelato, please? And she left. And so I was like, wow, okay, if she won't take care of her dog when her dog's sick, she won't take care of me when I'm sick, I'm not sure that this is someone who has like a lot of maternal instincts.
Either that or she's really good at following instructions because you told her to leave.
Yeah, I mean...
There's another, there you go.
So there's one of those two things. So anyways, those were some of the flags that sort of led up to maybe this isn't the right thing for me.
So how long was the whole relationship
The
overall?
whole relationship was about a year and a half.
Okay.
And so it took the normal roller coaster where it was like the first 3 months were super awesome. Then you're kind of deciding in the middle months, you know, is this a person for me? And then you're looking for an escape plan for like the last 6 months. Without.
Did you ever live together?
We got to a stage where she had my key, but we never moved in together. But she was over at my place probably, 5 nights a week, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So it wasn't an official move-in together, but it was, for all intents and purposes, we were sharing living space together. Yeah.
So after that 3-month honeymoon
Right.
period, at what point did you see things kind of going where you started really questioning, is this going to stick?
I think probably somewhere around, her sister had a baby, and right around that time. And I think that she kind of got a red flag against me the night that her sister had the baby. Because we had gone out drinking the night before, and we knew that it was any moment that her sister might be going into labor. So we got a call at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning to come down to the hospital.
You
And
drunk at this time or hungover?
I was still drunk.
Yeah.
And so I rolled over and I looked at her and I said, I can't drive. And she's like, well, we can take a cab. And I'm like, well, you can take a cab. So I didn't go down for the whole birthing process. And I think she kind of felt like that wasn't a very paternal instinct. And so now I think in sort of like the lower subtext between the two of us, one thinks the other isn't very maternal, and the other thinks the other isn't very paternal. And then I just started getting this feeling that she was looking for someone to plug and play into her life. All of her sisters were getting married. All of her sisters were having kids. And I think she was looking for a husband. And I got this feeling in my brain that I was just filling that void for her rather than her having genuine interest in me.
So
But
she doesn't feel left out in the family, does she's
Exactly.
on the
So
same
that,
track. Okay.
yeah, she was filling sort of like the family goal. And then also, given her past work history, I think she was very much trying to align to the white picket fence ideal moving forward. To try
Did
and
her
separate
family know
herself.
what she did?
Absolutely, yeah. Her family
Okay.
was well aware of what she did for a living.
And they're okay with it.
They were very okay, and they were supportive of it.
That's surprising for Asian family. I'm just,
You tell me. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at Jeff.
You see, you're Asian. You're Asian. You see, and I'm
Jeff,
white.
what's it like in your family?
Well, we're all strippers in my family.
Okay, all right.
So you started.
Move
So
on.
both of you kind of. So she's basically getting this idea of okay, from now on, this is kind of what life is supposed to be for the next year.
Right.
And now you two might be diverting in two different directions.
Right, and so the breakup, we sort of like broke up, got together about non-serious issues, like a lot of couples do,
Mhm.
you know, especially in that stage when they're questioning whether or not they should be with that person long term. But quite often, those breakups, as I've experienced in other relationships, are just, you know, a way to either stimulate an argument so that you can vet out the two differences that the people have, that sort of thing.
Mm.
But I don't know. I got pretty married to wanting to find this escape plan for me to get away.
So you were determined to get out of this.
I think I was,
Okay.
and almost at the stage of like sabotaging the relationship so that at least I could be the person who broke up with her and sort of maintain kind of
Mhm.
like a control thing. I think even though I was 32 at the time, I was still very immature as it related to relationships, you know.
Mhm.
And so I always felt like being in the power position was the most important part, as opposed to like fostering an equal relationship.
Yeah.
So it's a lesson that I learned out of this relationship was, you know, that's not necessarily the way that you should act and behave, because it's going to lead to something messy towards the end.
Mm.
Also keep in mind that I wasn't working at this time. I had this nest egg of money in the bank, and
How long did you take off?
I took 10 months off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so what ended up happening is I got a job at a curling club, of all things, because I was a curler, and found out that the manager of my club was leaving. Applied to the position. I started working. I got hired in April, but I didn't start working full time until August. So her and I had been going out for 11 months by this time,
Mm.
and I had full availability for trips, family vacations with her family, things to, you know, dinners. I never had an excuse. I was available during the day on the days that she had off, all that kind of stuff. I was
She
available.
was used to that as you were used to that.
Yeah, and then so when I started working, and then my availability to hang out with her became compromised by my job, and then my job also, much like when I was with the Canadians, and now that I'm with the Comedy Mix, involved a lot of nighttime hours. Then we weren't able to meet as often as we were in the past.
So you became the stripper.
I did, and the money's not as good for the guys. I
Okay.
gotta be honest, and it's very difficult to catch loonies. I don't know if you guys have ever tried. So
Where do they put them exactly?
Why did you have to make it sexual?
Well,
Jeff makes everything sexual.
coins going
Every
there.
episode.
Well, it's either racial or sexual.
And so what ended up happening was, by the time I started working, that really was kind of like the last straw of us being able to salvage our relationship. And oddly enough, we broke up more or less because she got a new cell phone. She got a brand new cell phone.
Expand on that idea.
Okay.
Yeah, she got a brand new cell phone with a new cell number. And I was late at work one night, and so she was back at my apartment cooking dinner for us. So I phoned her, and I said, "Sorry, Maji, I'm going to be late tonight. I'm probably not going to be home till about 9:30 or 10." Then I called her again at about 9, and I said, "It looks like it's not going to be till about 11 or so." Never heard back from her. I got back to my apartment at about 11:30. There was my key, obviously tucked underneath the door,
Okay.
and a note on a magnet on the fridge that said, "Obviously you don't fucking care about me enough to come home for dinner when you said you would. This is over." So part of me was like, "Ooh, I just got my get out of jail free card here.
Okay.
She's breaking up with me, but I'm okay with this." And then the other thing is like, I fucking called her twice, you know?
Mhm.
Like, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, a day or two later, we finally touched base. She called me. I'm like, "What's this about you not getting my messages?" She said, "You never call." I said, "Well, did you check your messages on your phone?" She goes, "I have a new phone. I don't even have voicemail." no, you have voicemail.
Yeah.
And so she called in and saw that I was being considerate
Mm-hmm.
and told her I was running late and told her the exact time I'd be home. So she was out on the town with her friends that night when she was checking their messages and was just hammered. And then she called me back and she was so apologetic.
Mm-hmm.
And then she came over to the apartment to try and make up and get back together. And I just decided that this was a good time for us to end it. And so I just rebuffed her reconciliation offers. And that was it.
How did she take it?
She cried a lot.
Okay.
And she called me a lot for the next little while, crying a lot. And one of the things that's really odd in that type of situation when you've gone out with someone for, over a year or so, so this has been a year and a half, we had become best friends, So the difficult part was when you're going through emotional stuff, you tend to rely on your best friends. And if your best friend is the person that is the cause of this emotional stress for you, it's hard to separate those two things. So I ended up being like counselor to her for us breaking up. It was just a really, really weird situation.
So you had to make her feel better for something that was going on between the two of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had to separate. But I mean, I'm a very, I align myself very strongly with principles and principle matters. So in my mind, I'd already decided that we're never getting back together. So I had moved on.
Okay.
And so now I was able to sort of comfort her, but she was still trying to reconcile with me, And so it was just this weird situation where I became sort of the ear for her, the shoulder for her to cry on about us breaking up. And then I found out, so this was, I don't know, somewhere around the new year, I guess. I found out that within 6 weeks or so, she had rebounded with someone who was fully integrated into her life. That guy proposed to her 3 months into their relationship, and they were married by the following November.
Holy cow.
Wow, that's a rebound. Right
So
there.
then it sort of affirmed for me my previous suspicion that she was just looking for someone to plug and play into her
Well, I thought
life.
that you were going to say that you're a very good psychiatrist.
Oh, I guess I did my job.
You got her through it.
I got her through it, but more importantly, for me, in my mindset at the time, I got her out of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was there any, when you found out about the rebound and the new fiance and all that stuff, was there any awkward, ironic feelings where you're like, oh, maybe you kind of secretly wanted to get back together with her after all that, or?
I had also moved on by this point, and
Yeah.
so I was seeing someone by the time that I found out that she was engaged, so
Oh, okay.
4 or 5 months down the road, I was
Yeah.
seeing someone else. So I never really had those pangs of, regret as it relates to that relationship. In fact, I'm really happy that I went through that experience, and we had a lot of really great times together. And so part of that allowed me to forget sort of the last 4 months when I was, looking for an out. I think we're just so stupid as guys that we're never happy with the situation that we have. And the grass is always greener on the other side. And I think it's important for us sometimes to have those moments in our life where we realize that, we actually were pretty lucky in terms of what we had at that time.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, Ed. You have me. Appreciate
The
it.
grass is way greener on the other side.
You guys have each other.
For now.
It's like neon green right now.
He's going to have a rebound, I just know.
So what was the first thing you did after the breakup? Do you remember?
The first thing that I did after the breakup, I'm fairly certain that I went out and got blotto at the side door. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I got raging drunk at the side door.
Is the
Okay.
side door club? What is that?
The side door was a bar that we used to call the Slimy Whore. It's now Lola's. So sorry, Tim, if you're listening, that your club used to be called something that was referred to as the Slimy Whore.
Please don't email this to him.
But it's right next to the Regal Beagle on Broadway. And
There's an actual Regal Beagle?
yeah,
Oh, like from Three's Company?
exactly.
That's
from
awesome.
Frisco. Yeah. The guy who owns it is named Larry, too.
Oh, wicked.
No, that's not true at all.
Oh.
I just lied about that.
That would have been nice.
Great, not Jeff's gonna go there all the time.
I am.
I'm still waiting for my M&Ms. I was promised M&Ms.
They melted. Can't
yeah.
you tell how hot it is in here?
Jeff ate it
It's
all.
boiling in here.
He left it with a mic stand.
And when do we get to talk about the Expos? I have so much material about the Expos. Isn't that what this podcast is about?
No.
Yeah. Afterwards.
Exactly.
Oh,
Expos is forever.
I'm wearing my Expos belt buckle even. I made a Vlad Guerrero joke today. Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
I don't know who that is.
You don't know who Vlad Guerrero is?
No.
I think you can kick this guy off the podcast.
I don't know what he does.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Go ahead with the joke.
Oh, wow. Okay, this is going to fall flat then.
No,
He'll Google
not
it.
to our audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like I was 4 years old. Pretend I'm 4 years old. So
I've been this whole time.
Thank you. No one's going to say who's there. So just
Oh, who's there? Okay.
banana. It's basically the banana joke. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Who's
Banana.
Banana who?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Banana.
Banana who?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Vlad.
Vlad who?
Aren't you glad I didn't say banana again?
Wah, wah.
It took me 4 hours to write that.
What does that have to do with Vlad Guerrero? That's weird.
It's his name.
Smacking in my face.
Vlad Guerrero. It was a pun.
Oh, okay.
It was a knock, knock pun.
What does it do with bananas?
Oh my god.
I'll explain it.
do you seriously not know the
I knew
orange
who he
knock knock
was.
joke?
I knew who he was.
I know that joke, yeah.
I didn't know the joke.
Ed, do you not know the banana
I
knock
didn't-
knock joke?
I did not know the banana joke, but I knew who
What?
Vlad
You know the
was.
knock knock joke.
Yeah,
So-
I do, yeah.
Aren't you glad I didn't?
Aren't you glad I
Oh.
didn't say banana again?
Oh, that joke. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
It was a riff on that.
You're a
Okay.
traveling comedian, Ed.
Let's move on to the
Wow.
Okay, sure.
You get paid for comedy, and you don't know knock knock
Okay.
banana joke?
Okay, Jason, we're going to move on to give you a few options. In
Okay.
fact, there are 4 options.
3 options.
4.
Okay.
All right.
The first option that you can do, and we'll stop after this, and you can decide, and we'll get back into it. First, you can call Maji on the telephone.
I
And
can't.
you can.
That's not possible.
Okay, well, we're going to skip right ahead then. You can call a friend that you know about you guys' relationship, and we can get their opinion on either your relationship with her or their opinion on her specifically.
Okay.
You can call Maji's parents and discuss the relationship with them.
Okay.
Or you can you can have 2 minutes of completely open space. We will not talk. We will not ask questions. We won't comment. You can just talk as if Maji's in the room or listening to the podcast directly, and you can get off your chest whatever you need to say to her for yourself.
Wow. Okay.
So we'll take a quick break, and you can decide, and then we'll let everyone know what you chose and go from there.
So we have Nadia here. Is one of Jason's friends who knew Maji and also Jason during the time they were dating. So welcome to the show, Nadia.
Thanks for having me.
So Nadia, what can you tell me about Jason and Maji? What's your opinion on them?
Well, as far as I can remember, I think they were together for, I think it was probably the longest relationship Jason's had, over a year or 2.
Yeah, it was over a year.
Over a year?
Yeah.
I actually, honestly, I really liked her. I thought she was a good fit for Jason, but Jason had a different opinion.
Okay. Did you know what she did for a living?
Sorry?
Did you know what she did for a living?
Do I know where she was living?
What she did for a living as a job.
What she did for a living? You know, I honestly can't remember now. I think she did some marketing or something like that.
Ask her about the previous
Okay.
job.
Okay. How about the former job before that? Do you remember what she did?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay.
Reminder.
I can't remember.
She was an
I can't
exotic
remember.
dancer.
Yeah, she was a stripper. Jason wanted me to let you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. How could I forget that?
And
Mine must be like 2 kids I have now.
so you really liked her, and so how did you feel when they broke up?
Well, I was a bit disappointed, but I understood why Jason did it. He had some reservations, and you know, but Jason's a really smart guy, and he wants what he wants, and he wasn't interested anymore, so he's closed.
So are you still in contact with Maji yourself, or no?
No, I'm not.
No? Okay. Are you a stripper?
I am not.
Anymore.
Well, I strip books.
Yeah, that's true. She strips books.
I just thought I'd check. You don't ever know. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Nadia.
Oh, no problem.
Thanks,
All right.
Nat. Love you.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Wow, that's hilarious.
So, Jason, what did you think of what Nadia said?
I think there's a lot of validity to what she said. Nadia is one of my best friends. Her husband, Mark, and her and I have been friends almost since I moved to Vancouver. And I think that they really want to see me be able to be happy, have a relationship. They know that I want to be married. They know that I want to have kids. And so I think Nadia, rightfully so, probably was disappointed because that was a closest I've been to being able to travel that path, you
Mhm.
know? And given that Maji ended up getting married and have kids and stuff like that, that if I would have stayed with her, that probably would have happened for me too.
Okay.
I want to be married once, and so I had it in my mind that I probably wouldn't have stayed married to her if we did get married. And so I just didn't want to travel that path.
Mhm.
So I respect what Nadia says, and I think that she's right. You know, I think that I'm disappointed too, but not so much that I specifically broke up with Maji, but that a long-term relationship hadn't worked out.
Okay.
So just a couple last quick questions we always ask people. Jason, you touched on this a little bit earlier in the podcast, naturally, but what's one thing that you would definitely say you learned from this relationship with Maji?
I think probably starting to learn to compromise and to do what two people can do together rather than always wanting what I want on my own. I'm an only child. I was spoiled. Moved out when I was 15. Have basically always been able to do what I want to do. And so I think it was a really interesting experience for me to learn how to compromise and be with someone else and do what they want to do sometimes rather than what I want to do all the time.
Okay.
Right. And if you could go back and change one thing, do you think you would? And what might that be?
I think probably, this is so cliche and it's dumb, but I think that
We need the soundbite. Go ahead.
communication, I think, probably would have cleared up a lot of the issues that we had. I think that if I had the balls to just sit down one day and say, look, I don't like the way that you leave your dog with your family and you don't take responsibility, but you say that you're responsible. I don't like the way that when I was sick, you took off. And I think if I would have had the gumption to say the things I didn't like about it, that we probably could have worked through those things and understood truly where each other stood on certain points rather than guess where each other stood on certain points. As I alluded to during the earlier interview, I just presumed she might not be very motherly, and I presumed that she presumed I might not be very fatherly, but we never had that conversation. I think I was still immature enough, even though I was in my early 30s, to rather avoid a fight than to talk through issues. And so I think that's another learning point that I had from this relationship, that it's better to talk through issues, communicate well, than presume what the other person is thinking, and then let that foster and let that grow into a seed of doubt that could lead to breaking up.
Out of curiosity, you're not in communication with her at all at this point.
No, but oddly enough, about 8 months ago, her younger sister came into the Comedy Mix to watch a show.
Oh.
And so I was like, walked up to her and I go, Sophie, is that you? And she's like, yeah, Jason, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm great. How's Maji? And she goes, she's really good. And, you know, that made me feel good too.
Good.
Okay, so it's a happy ending for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I guess our final question for you, Jason, is exes.
Forever.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
So that's this week's episode. Thank you for listening to the show. If you want to find out more about the show, please visit us at exesforever.com.
And please subscribe to our show on iTunes or whatever program you are using. And it also really helps out our ratings if you give us a positive review and a positive rating.
And you can also follow us or tweet us at exesforevertime. And if you want to be on the show or you have comments about any guests that have been on the show, please visit us and leave a comment again at exesforever.com.